Hi everyone, Jeanette here with Vivo Vintage Designs. Welcome to today's video. Before we get started, let me remind you that all the products used will be listed in the description box along with links. So if you have any questions regarding anything you see me use here, you can take a look down below and check out the link. Also, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your interaction with my channel is very helpful and greatly appreciated. Okay, so today's video is about alcohol ink floral doodles, and these are great little things that you can do on the front of a card and add to your paintings. They're easy to do, and we're going to be using Kirkland. I'm using Kirkland photo paper, and I have two dry palettes here with me. I have some alcohol, a white gel pen, some black MICRON pens, and a couple of inexpensive brushes. There'll be links down there in the description box for some decent brushes for alcohol ink. I don't recommend using expensive brushes with your alcohol ink because the alcohol is very damaging. So what we have here is we have some lavender, some forget-me-nots. I'm not sure what kind of flower this is. We have like a black-eyed Susan, a tulip, and a rose. So I am going to show you how I created these pretty flowers, and I'll bring them a little bit closer to you so you can see them. They're really simple. And this one here, I didn't like the way the petals blended together. So MICRON pens to the rescue. They are your friend. And the rest of them came out pretty neat. So I'm going to see if I can replicate this and show you how I did it. All right, so for the lavender, I am going to take my smallest brush. I don't know what size this is. The information has worn off. But, and I'm going to take some purple and blue and mix it together in my palette to create nice purpley blue. I don't want it too purple. The one I have in my palette is really dark, so I'm going to mix a little blue with it. And then the first thing I'm going to do is my stem. So I'm going to pick up some green. And when you're using a dry palette, you want to make sure you don't have too much alcohol on your brush. So I'm going to stir it in there, let some of the alcohol dissipate. And then I like to start from the bottom for my stem and bring it up. And I'll do a couple of little stems here for you. And you can do these in a bunch or however you like. They're just really simple. All right, so now we have our stems. I'm going to rinse off my brush. And I'm going to go into that mix of purple and blue. And my brush is just slightly damp. If you use too much alcohol, it will bloom on you, and you don't want that. So at the top, let me see if I can roll my brush and get a better point on it. Okay. So at the top, I'm just going to put down a couple of little lines and move down a little bit. And add a few more. Pick up a little bit more color. And as I move down, I'm going to get just a little bit bigger. And then I'll go in with a darker color, a darker purple, once this is all dry. And I'll add a little bit more detail. So I'm showing you, I'm rolling my brush to get that point back after I pick up the color. So I'm just making a couple of little lines, nothing crazy. You can bring some down, and as I get lower on the stem, I make them just a little bit bigger. So that's pretty simple. Okay, so now I'm going to go into that darker purple, and I'm going to add that to the mix that I had before to darken it a little bit. And then I'm just going to add a couple of those darker little stems, or little buds, I'm not even sure what they are, here and there, just for a little bit more detail. So real simple, but again, this will make a really cute card. Excuse me. A little bunch of these. And now the stem, the leaves are also very simple. I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to go into a green. And can you guys hear my dog in the background? I don't know what he's digging for. So I'm using back to the painting, I'm using the very tip of the brush, and I'm going to put that down, and as I move up, I'm going to push down on the brush and then lift up to the point again to create the leaves. So I'm going to pick up a little bit more color. Going to start with the point of my brush and then use a little pressure and then lift up to the point of the brush again. And you can add some little leaves in between if you like. And there you go, lavender. So that was pretty simple. And now to the same mixture that I used for the lavender, I'm going to add a bit more blue, because now we're going to do forget-me-nots. So I'm picking up a little bit of blue and mixing it in there. And I'm going to use the same brush. And to create the forget-me-nots, it's really simple. You're just creating these little petals, 5 little petals, and leaving the center open because you want to do the yellow center. And I used too much alcohol on this, and hopefully you can see how that's blooming. Let me bring it up so you can see what happens when you use too much alcohol. Can you see how that spread? So let's try not to do that. Okay, let's do another one. No, I'm not crazy about this color. Let me pick up another blue and put it in there and see if I can make a brighter blue. Okay, so again, we're doing 5 little petals. I'm going to make this one face upward. I'm going to make this one face upward also. And then I'll make this one open. Then you can do a little bud, just a little green, almost the same shape as the petal. So you can see how easy this is. It doesn't take a lot of effort. I'm going to ignore that flower like it's not there. stop. All right, one last little forget-me-not here. And then I'm going to pick up some yellow for the center. And you want a nice bright yellow. And then just dot the center with your yellow. Now, all right, we'll put a little yellow in there. And now we'll go into some green, whatever green you like. And we will attach these little flowers with stems. So again, I'm going to roll the tip of my brush because I want to try and get a nice point on here. So this is going to be my center stem, where all my little flowers attach to. And then we'll do the little leaves, and that's basically the same thing as the petal, only elongated. So you're just using the tip of your brush to create a little leaf here and there. And there you have some forget-me-nots. Now this next flower that we're doing requires a larger brush. So I'm going to use this one, and again, the numbers are worn off, so I can't even see what size this is. I think it's a number 6. So I'm going to pick up some red on my brush, and make sure you dab it off to make sure that you don't have too much alcohol on the brush. Okay. And for the first petal, this is a 4-petal flower. So I'm going to create the first petal by using the belly of the brush and pushing up. And that's going to be my first petal. I'm going to pick up a little bit more color. And I'll make the second petal. Again, I'm using the belly of the brush to push up the ink, and you can use the tip of the brush to shape it however you like. And I'm leaving some white space in between the petals. Doing the same again here. And I'm trying to make this one facing that way. So I'm going to come in here and do this petal facing that way. I'm going to wash off my brush, or rather clean off my brush in the alcohol, and I'm going to pick up the smaller brush for the stem, going back to the smaller brush, and I'm going to roll it again, try and get a point on it, and I'm going to create the stem. And then for the leaves, I use the same brush, and I just push out with the belly of the brush and basically draw out the petal. That's pretty simple. So I'll do another leaf so you can see how I do that. Rolling it to get a nice point on it. I'm going to do my stem, and then I'm just pushing out the ink and creating a leaf shape just by pushing the ink out. And it works best if you use the belly of the brush to do it. And there you have a simple leaf. Now for the center of this flower, and if anybody knows what this flower is called, let me know. I'm going to get a heavy consistency of black on my brush. So I'm picking up a lot of black on here. very little alcohol. And then I'm just going to fill in the center. I'm going to leave a little white space, but I can always come back with my gel pen and add some highlights in here. And that's what I plan to do. So I'm going to create my center. I'm going to clean off my brush. And I'm using the same small brush. I'm going to pick up a heavy consistency of the same or similar red that I used to create the flower. And then for a little added detail, I'm just going to put some lines in here towards the base. To give a little shape and a little detail to my petals. And then I'll show you what I like to do. I'm going to clean my brush off again, and I'm going to dry it as well as I can on my paper towel. And then I'm going to take the brush and run it through that color. Just try and soften up those lines a little bit. And I'll bring some up. But my brush is very dry. And you want to try and keep the lines going with the shape of the petal, the direction that the petal is growing in. And there you go. Now, I think some of these petals could be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to pick up some more of that ink and see if I can make these a little bit bigger. All right, I'm happy with that. So you can see these are really simple. And you can always take a micron pen and add some detail by outlining these flowers, which I really like. As I mentioned, I did not like this Black-Eyed Susan when I did it because my petals blended together. They didn't have any definition, so I used the micron pen to give them some definition. Okay, so for this flower, I'm going to pick up a dark consistency or a heavy consistency of brown. And I'm going to dab in my cone shape. So I'm using the tip of the brush and I'm just putting in the shape of the cone or the center of the flower. And then I'm going to pick up a darker brown, or you can use the same brown, mix it with a little black, and I'm going to tap in a little shadow on one side of the flower. I want it to be a little bit darker. Oops, too much alcohol. So I'm going to get some blooming here. But chances are that I'm going to use my micron pen to add a little line on this, some line work on this, because this is hard to do with these brushes. All right, so now for the petals, I'm going to pick up some orange. And I'm going to start where I want the tip of the petal to be. I'm going to push down on my brush, and as I get to the center of the flower, I'm going to lift the brush. So I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm pushing down on my brush, and I'm dragging it, the body of the brush, and then lifting. And I keep picking up color every time I do this. So put your tip down, pressure, let those bristles spread out a little bit, and then as you get to the center, lift again. I could actually use a larger brush for this. I think I'm going to do that. I'm switching to a larger brush because I really want my petals to be a little bit bigger than they're coming. So I think this is probably like a size 6 brush. So I'm putting down the tip. Let me make sure I don't have too much alcohol on there. The tip of the brush, pushing down so it makes a larger petal, and then lifting as I come to the center. And you can make them overlap. Go over these other ones that I did that I think are too small. Oh, that turned out pretty well. I may not have to do any line work with the Micron pen for this one. So I'm going to clean off my brush, and I'm going to pick up some green for my stem. So I want my stem to come from here. And then for a little shadow on that stem, I'm going to pick up maybe a little combination of green and brown. And I'm going to roll my brush, try to get a nice tip on it. And I'm going to add a little shadow at the top of the stem where the leaves would cast a shadow. And then I'm going to bring that brown, that mixture of brown and green, down one side of it. And to create the leaf, I'm going to get a nice green on my brush again. I'll create the stem, and then I'm going to push the petals out like I did for the other one. And then you can run a line right down the center. So pretty simple, right? I hope you think so, and I hope you give this a try. Now the tulip, I'm going to switch to the larger, nope, not that one, this larger brush again. I like this one. It's got a softer bristles. I like that better. So now for my tulip, I'm going to, what color is this? Let's get a nice combination here. I'll make it like an orangey tulip. All right. So I'm going to create the side petals. So I'm using the side of my brush and I'm pulling it down. Pick up a little bit more color. Now I'm going to make the center petal. Again, I'm using the belly of the brush. And because this is alcohol ink, I want to make them a little bit different in color. See if I can get a little shading on this side here. And then I'll create the side petal. So by leaving a little white space in between the petals, you show that they're separate petals. And then if you want, you can do the little back petal by adding a little line there. I think I want to thicken this one up a little bit. Give it more the shape of a tulip, which is a little thicker at the bottom there. I think the other one came out better than this, but what are you going to do? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. The other one was effortless. It just a couple of strokes of the brush and I got a beautiful tulip. Let's see if I can fix this one. I'm not giving up on it. I'm going to pick up some more color and see if I can clean this one up a little bit. Okay, I think that's better. Now to do the stem of the tulip, you know the tulip has a kind of thick stem. So I'm going to pick up some green and I'm going to use the same brush. I'm just going to use the tip of the brush to start with and then run it down, use a little pressure to thicken my stem. And then to create the petals, it's the same thing that I showed you for like the petals of this flower. You're starting with the tip of your brush, using pressure, pulling up, and then back to the tip. Let me pick up a little bit more ink and see if I can darken that. All right, so I'm starting at the base of the stem, using light pressure, heavier pressure, and then pulling up to the tip. And then use the tip of your brush to make that a little bit pointier. And if you like, this came out a little bit light, so I'm using the tip of my brush to add a little bit of color, add a little bit more color to this petal, leaf rather. My goodness, I can't even speak. All right, let's see if I can do the next one without having to go over it like that. This is much easier to do with watercolor, let me tell you. Okay, so I'm using the tip, pressure, light pressure, and to the tip. And roll your brush to get the tip back, and then finish off your leaf. Pretty, right? And then if you want to add a little shading to this, you can pick up a different shade of green or a darker shade of green and roll the tip of your brush to get that point back and come back to the top here where it would be a little bit darker. Too much alcohol, of course, and darken that area. And you can bring it down a little bit. So you can add a little detail. Just using the tip of your brush, a little shading. And add a little bit more detail to your leaves. And there you have a tulip. Now the last flower is my favorite. It's a rose. So to do this rose, you're going to load up your brush with a heavy consistency of whatever color it is you want to use. Okay, so get a lot of ink on there and dab it off. Make sure you don't have too much alcohol on your brush, okay? And now you're going to do almost like a broken spiral. So start putting a heavy consistency in the center and make it like a broken spiral, like little dashes, right? Now pick up a little bit of alcohol on your brush. What you're trying to do is release some of that ink that's on your brush. And now, the same way we created these petals with light pressure, heavy pressure, light pressure, that's how you're going to create these petals. And as you go out, you want them to be lighter. So you want them narrow at the beginning, a little wider in the center, and then you want them narrow again wherever they end. So I'm going to start with the tip of my brush, push down and lift. Tip of the brush, push down and lift. And I'm going to continue doing that. And as I go around, I want to get rid of some more of that pigment. And I want my petals to get lighter as I go out. And you want them thicker in the center and more narrow at the ends. And you can add as many petals as you like. And I hope you can see this because it's getting very light. You can always, go back and darken it up if you like, but I like them very light myself. I'll try and make them a little bit darker because I do need you to see them. So keep creating these petals, keep going around your flower, and you can thicken them up using the tip of your brush. I'm going to darken these petals for you so that you can actually see them. Okay, so let me pick up some more and add some final petals here. Okay, so there you have a rose. So I'm going to show you again how you get these petals over here. Let me make sure that I'm still in frame and that you can see what I'm doing. So you're using the tip of your brush to start the petal, then you're pushing down so it widens your petal, and then coming back to the tip of the brush. And that's how you get it narrow at the ends. Let me pick up a darker ink so that you can see it better, because that's really light. So using the tip of my brush, I start, and then I use pressure, and I'm curving, and then I'm lifting back to the tip. Then you can start your next one using the tip of the brush, drag it, and then lift back up to your point. And if you need to shape those petals a little bit better, you can do that using the tip of the brush. But that's how you do it. It's almost like a C shape. So you're using the tip, pressure, curving, and then back to the tip of the brush. And you want to do that all around your flower. And then to create the leaves, pick up whatever green you like, and not too much alcohol. Push out with your petals, your leaf. And that's how I like to create mine. And you can create the vein in the center using the tip of your brush. So there you have some alcohol ink floral doodles. And again, if you like, you can use your MICRON pens. In fact, I'm not that crazy about that flower, so I'm going to use on number 02 to outline the petals, just to show you. Let me bring you a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing best. Oops, sorry. All right, so this is a 0.02 micron pen, and I'm going to very sketchy, I'm going to outline my petals, and you can see they're not perfect lines, they're kind of shaky. And this is how I save a lot of my paintings, is with a micron pen. So I used the thicker one to do the outline, and now I'm switching to a smaller one. This is a 005, and from the center of my flower I'm going to start creating a little shading, and I'm just flicking my pen up towards the center, but trying to keep those lines with the shape of the petal. I have to actually turn the paper upside down, so bear with me. This works better for me when I do it like this. So you can see that my lines are going with the shape of the petal. And then down here, I'm going to add the shading at the bottom. Am I still in frame? Okay, yes I am. And for the stem, I'll just do a little skippy, sketchy line. I'll do the same for the leaves. You can add as much detail with your micron pens as you like. I'm going to try and keep this simple. And to me, that looks much better than it did before. And to add a little highlight in the center, I have a Uniball gel pen. This is a really great pen. It's called a Uniball Signo Broad Tip, and this is one of my favorite gel pens. Clean off the tip, and I'm just going to add a little bit of highlights in here, doing a little dotting, keeping it simple, and there you go. And for this flower here, you can also add a little highlight in your center by doing a little dotting, and it just makes it pop a little bit more. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you found the information helpful. If you have any questions regarding any of the techniques you've seen me use here, leave it in the comments. I'll always get back to you, and let me know what you think, and I hope you give this a try. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.